Okay, students, today we're going to learn how to make a reflection effect like the one you see on the screen right here. You're going to start with an image like this, the Coke can, and we're going to learn a lot about a few things today. We're going to learn about the quick select tool, how to apply a mask, how to work with various layers, and how to use a gradient fill in the mask to get this kind of effect where we see the reflection fading out like that. All right, let's get started. You're going to go ahead and use Photoshop and open up your coke.jpg file. It looks like this. And the very first thing we're going to do is use our quick select tool. We've used that in the past. It's right here on the toolbar. We're going to go ahead and just click and drag across the image until we look like we get a good selection. Remember, if you get some areas of the selection that you don't want, for example, if I go a little too far out here on the side, I hold the Alt key, Alt key down, and I can subtract from my selection like you see I'm doing here. If I subtract too much, I need to add back in. I hold the Shift key down and I can add back in. Again, Shift is to add to the selection and Alt is to subtract. It looks pretty good except for some of the letters here in the center haven't been selected, so I'll hold Shift down and kind of click and drag around these letters in the center until it looks like everything is selected. You want to be really careful about making a good selection. Again, quality work in Photoshop requires that you make really good selections. So that looks pretty good. Once we have it done, we're going to come over here lower right corner in the layers palette and you'll see the mask button. Looks like a rectangle shape with a round hole cut out of it. Go ahead and click on that. It makes a mask. You'll see it show up in the layers here. Okay. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and duplicate the layer. And so the easiest way to do that with the layer selected is to press Control J. That automatically makes a new layer. If you want, there's another way to do it. If I undo that real quick, you can also come in, right click on the layer and say duplicate layer. Both of those methods work the same. Control J or right click duplicate layer. Once you have a second layer, let's take the top layer, double click the name and call it reflection. Double click on the name of the layer to rename it. Okay, and then we're going to transform this Coke can so that the top one called reflection is actually flipped upside down. So the way we do that with this layer selected, hold Control T. Control T is the free transform tool. And once you have the transform option turned on, you can right click and say flip vertical. And it will flip the can vertically. Now notice that only the top layer is flipped vertically. If I turn off the visibility of my top layer, oops, can't do that till I finish this. So I'm in the middle of a transition, so I need to click on this check mark to finish the transformation. Now I can turn this layer off. So the top layer, if I turn it off, I can see the layer below it, which has not been flipped. Only the top layer has been flipped, which is called reflection. All right, now I want to move this Coke can down, but I'm kind of running out of room in my canvas. So what I'm going to do is come up and go Image, Canvas Size, and this window opens. What I want to do is increase the canvas size from the top down. So I'm going to click here in the top center and say I want to change the height, but not by a percentage. I think I'll change it by pixels instead. I see that right now it's 1500 pixels high. I want to add another 1500 pixels to double the height like that, and then click OK. Okay, now I have twice as much room as I had before. Now I can take my top layer called reflection and just move it down. Okay, I want it to overlap a little bit, something like that. Okay, so now the two layers are set correctly. All right, the next thing I want to do is I really want this top layer called reflection to be below the other layer. So I'm going to take it and drag it down below layer 0 in the layers palette. And so now we can see that the reflection layer is behind the top layer, which is called layer 0. Okay, that looks good. Now the last thing I need to do to finish this effect is to take this mask on the reflection layer and fill it with a gradient fill. Okay, so make sure you have that layer selected. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, Control minus, so I can see everything here. I'm going to come up and find this tool over here. It might be hidden. behind the paint bucket tool, but it's called the gradient tool. So select that and come up here and choose the gradient color editor up here. This window will pop open. Okay, and usually you want to choose the second one over on the top row. If you put your mouse over that, it's called the foreground to transparent option. Now you got to make sure your foreground color is set to black. My foreground color already was set to black. If yours isn't, you may need to cancel this. Come back and set this to black here. Okay. Again, with the foreground, with the gradient tool selected, click up here. Second one over is called foreground to transparent. You're going to say OK. And now that you have the correct fill selected, my fill doesn't look right. I'm going to come in here and make sure that this stop here is the color black. This one over here should be, so over on this side it should be black, and over this one over here I want to make sure the color is set to white. Okay, so on this side black, on this side white. I say okay, because up here it should look like black to white. And once I get that, I can make sure I have the mask selected here and click from a little below the can and click and drag straight up over the can to a little bit above the can and let go. And when I do that properly, it looks like the can fades out, okay, from top to bottom. If you don't like it, you can hit Control Z and you can re-drag it and see if you like it better. Okay, and it's just kind of keep doing it until you get it the way you like it. Again, something like this looks good, looks great. When I'm happy with it, I'm pretty much done. If you need to crop it a little bit, you could take the crop tool and you could crop the bottom out a little bit, something like that. Okay, to finish a crop, you hit the check mark in the upper right corner. Okay, all done. Go ahead and add some text so it looks like what I see here: Classic Coke, reflection. And you can put your text in there and then you can export it out as a JPEG. Thanks for watching.